Greens.
Madam Deputy Speaker, what a breathtaking spray of hypocrisy and lack of insight. The first thing I want to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, is it is only last Friday that Tasmania Police handed down their outcomes report, which showed a decade of investigative failures in relation to James Jeffrey Griffin. We didn't get one word from Labor on that this morning, not in question time and not now at our first real opportunity for debate on Parliament's return. We're talking here about children who are abused by a person in the state service, and we are talking about systemic issues. So we came into the office this morning thinking the matter of public importance debate will surely be about children and the Tasmania Police report.
Mr O'Byrne.
But no, it's not. Not a word. And you've got Dr Broad in here talking about playing politics.
Order. Mr O'Byrne and Dr Woodruff, I do ask that you allow Ms O'Connor to make a contribution, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I simply point that out because Labor has demonstrated again today they're completely out to lunch on the issues that really matter to the Tasmanian people, Madam Deputy Speaker. Now, let's just educate Dr Broad, who wasn't here at the time, wasn't in government, wasn't in Parliament, about the Tasmanian Forest Agreement. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Tasmanian Forest Agreement no longer exists. The Greens voted somewhat reluctantly for the Tasmanian Forest Agreement legislation because the trade-off was the reserves, Madam Speaker. The high conservation value forests, which now the Liberals have turned into future potential production forests, which were meant to be reserves. That was the price of our support. And there are no reserves coming out of the 356,000 hectares, Madam Deputy Speaker. So Dr Broad is not only delusional, hypocritical, but he's also dishonest, Madam Deputy Speaker. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, we support the Bob Brown Foundation 100% with all our hearts, Madam Deputy Speaker, and we know that young people are looking to organisations like the Bob Brown Foundation for hope, Madam Deputy Speaker. And we know across demographics in Tasmania there are people who look to the Bob Brown Foundation and the forest defenders and they feel thankful, Madam Deputy Speaker, because those gutsy people are at the front line of trying to stop deforestation and deliver a safe climate, Madam Deputy Speaker. That's why now, that's why yesterday, and that's why last year and the year before, we support the Bob Brown Foundation, Madam Deputy Speaker, and we always will, Madam Deputy Speaker. Now, speaking of the Bob Brown Foundation, towards the end of last year, two scientists who were part of very important research connecting logging native forests to bushfire risk were pilloried and vilified by both Dr Broad, Mr Barnett and indeed the mendicants in the logging industry. This attempt to intimidate those researchers has failed, Madam Deputy Speaker, because the University of Tasmania late last week cleared them of any breach of the conduct provisions for research at UTAS. Are we going to hear an apology from Dr Broad or Minister Barnett to those researchers, to Dr Jen Sanger, who are doing research in the public interest, if
Dr.
they had
Woodruff.
a shred of decency? A shred of decency, any capacity for insight, they would apologise to those researchers who are doing work that's actually been backed up nationally and internationally by about half a dozen peer-reviewed papers on the link between logging native forests and increased bushfire risk in a time of accelerating climate change. I call on Dr Broad to stand by his fellow scientists and apologise, Madam Deputy Speaker. They have been totally vindicated by the UTAS review. And I might say I was disappointed that UTAS even bothered to do the review because it was brought to them by the native forest logging industry and their political enablers in this place. Madam Deputy Speaker. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, over the last couple of weeks, it's been Society's Day at the University of Tasmania, and the Young Greens have had a stall at Society's Day. And I'll tell you what, Madam Deputy Speaker, young people know that the Bob Brown Foundation is on the right track. They know that politically we are on the right track, and that's why they are signing up in large numbers to join the Greens. They want to see an end to native forest logging. They're desperate to see political leadership that helps to deliver a safe climate. They know that countless species are on the brink, Madam Deputy Speaker. They know that the swift parrot, that exquisite bird, the fastest parrot on earth, is down to around 300 individual birds. And we've told them, Madam Deputy Speaker, that this government, enabled by the Labor Party, cheered on by the Labor Party, backs in the logging of swift parrot habitat. Young people get it, Madam Deputy Speaker. They know things have to change. They know that deforestation is a major contributor to climate change. And they want to see some leadership, Madam Deputy Speaker, not the kind of puerile, hypocritical politicking we've seen from Dr Broad and mirrored in so many ways by Minister Barnett. These two men in this chamber are the two sides of the one dirty little coin, Madam Deputy Speaker. They say the same thing, basically, and pretend there's differences around the margins. And I'll bet within the Labor Party room, Dr Broad is agitating for Labor to change its position on the anti-protest legislation. Madam Deputy Speaker, well, deny it if you will. Deny it if you will, and it'll be interesting to see when it comes forward, Madam Deputy Speaker. But you people are appalling.
The honourable member's time has expired. The honourable Minister for Primary Industries.
Politics, you are
Thank you, Mr O'Connor.